All right, everyone, we are here with special guest Austen Kroll, recurring guest at this point.
Very recurring.
Very, very recurring guest here to talk about this season of Southern Charm, his life, everything that's going on. Welcome back to the show, Austen.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
If
we're being honest here, I don't do very many podcasts, but I always do y'all's.
You just come back.
Yeah.
You just can't quit us.
Thanks for coming back.
Yeah.
Have you been on in this studio yet?
Yes.
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 With Craig.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
No longer with Craig.
That's also
this time,
a
huh?
recurring theme. I do a lot of
with
things
Craig a lot.
with Craig.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. That is true. But, here we are.
Yeah, not to dive right into it, kind of just led us right to that point. But first, how are you feeling? You're doing a lot of press this week. You did Watch What Happens Live.
Yeah.
A lot going on.
Yeah.
Are you nervous?
About?
Just like talking about this season.
No, I'm not, because there's no big thing that has happened to me involving someone of the opposite sex like it normally does.
That's what I said to you. I was like, it's not that bad. I mean, yeah, you're fighting with Craig,
Sure,
but
that's like pretty par for the course.
Yeah,
to be
like
honest.
For this season,
there's no girl issues.
There's no
right.
girl
It's like
issues.
less of like, oh my God, Austin's being a huge asshole to this girl.
Right, right.
You know? It's
And
more just like you guys are fighting as friends.
But that is hard too, because Craig and I pull our punches a lot with each other, because we both know that we don't want to like deliver that lethal blow.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it makes it harder, because then some might say that we dance around the issue, and then that's what we do. We dance until it comes to like a head, which you'll see later on in the season, right? Until we finally, one of us like sacks up and is like, all right, let's get to the root of this, and then we kind of do it.
And
but
somebody
until
says the
then,
thing.
it's like little shots here and there.
Yeah.
I feel like
Death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Yeah, and beautiful. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the big thing here, and I feel like it is kind of being talked about, you're saying it's danced around, but like you feel like he kind of pulled away from the friendship. He kind of cut all his friends off, really.
Yeah, basically. I mean, he kind of pulled like a bit of like a Howard Hughes. And I'm not saying that it's because, he was dating someone. I just think that it's like because that's just like, he thought that the recipe for, success was like just focus on one thing, and that like is business, and everything else is just, noise. Right. And I'm like, where's the bounce?
Yeah.
That's all that I was, asking of him. And I guess he just took that in the completely wrong way. Like, I guess that when I went to his house, let's just start there, for me, right? Because the whole thing was like, Patricia had a birthday. And even prior to Patricia's birthday, I asked her, I was like, the fact that Craig isn't going is kind of weird to me. And I was like, why isn't Craig coming? And I asked her actually like 3 times. And the last time I asked her, I was like, you sure that you don't want to just like add Craig to the list, right? Because I was feeling, weird about it. I was like, where's Craig? And she was like, I don't have room. Like, I don't have room, and I would rather have, X, Y, and Z there, flat out. And I was like, because you don't talk to Craig anymore. She was like, I haven't heard from Craig in, ages.
Yeah,
so I'm like, okay. So the day after her birthday, I go to Craig's to tell him like, hey man, you've pulled away from some of your relationships because your head's been down and, so focused on, this, and I thought that he was maybe going to be like, yeah, man, like I've been, trying to open a store in Nashville. I've been focused on, this Kroger deal, but maybe you're right. And I'll try to, and it was just like the exact opposite reaction of like, how dare you say that anything in my life is not perfect or, whatever. And I was like, whoa, not the reaction that I expected.
I think you guys were also like misinterpreting each other a little bit, which is probably what you're saying, like when you're kind of dancing around
I think
what
you're right.
really is going on.
Because I was nervous to go over
Yeah.
there, to be honest.
Yeah,
I was like scared. I was like, Craig might just like implode on me.
Yeah, and I think here you make a lot of good points of like coming from a concerned friend, but like Craig thought it was coming from a place of like, oh, you don't go out and have beers with me out now.
Totally.
And he's like, well, I don't, because like Craig's allowed to decide that he wants to like not do that anymore.
Sure,
Fine.
for sure.
But you're like, okay, well, we don't, we could go and you can come over and like we can have water and like watch a movie, like and,
Totally.
like, be friends.
Totally.
And
Watch Harry Potter.
yeah, it's just like I think Craig was really. It just felt like maybe Craig was in his own headspace of like everybody is thinking I changed, but I didn't change, but I did change, but I want to change, and then like spiraled. It just like it just seemed like it spiraled a little bit, and it became like a bigger thing than it needed to be.
I agree with that, and I think what you're saying is true. Like everyone's allowed to grow and change and want to do different things in life and have different aspirations and focus on that. 100%. But when you ditch your friends. It becomes a bigger problem where the friends that you've been with for so many years are going to be like, hey, you don't hang out with us anymore. And that doesn't mean we have to party. It could be just grabbing lunch, grabbing dinner, really whatever it is. So it's about finding that balance of, hey, I'm working on this. I'm working on these businesses. But yeah, let's go grab lunch. Let's catch up. Let's do those things.
I mean,
are all so important. Yeah. Like you
balance
have,
is like
you have,
what
right. You have to have those friends in your life because, say something happens, and we're kind of now seeing that unfold publicly with Craig and Paige breaking up, and I feel like he's obviously going through something with that as well. Now you guys are kind of like, hey, we're here for you. We're gonna be here for you. You're going through a hard time, but we kind of wish you would have gave us a little bit more time during all that, right?
I mean, you're doing the podcast for me.
I don't mean to be. I'm sorry.
No. I mean, I'm watching the show, and obviously things that he's saying like are pissing me off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that things that I'm saying are pissing him off. That's the way it goes, and you know that now. Little Miss Reality Star. and then he goes through like a breakup, and so you make a choice, and you're like, you got to push it all aside to be there for your buddy. And so we did that, and we actually had like a cameras up moment, right, where Craig came over to my house, and Shep came as well, and the three of us talked about Craig's breakup. And I was just like, Craig, I want you to promise me that like you're not just gonna like, shut off. And I'm like, if you need someone to talk to and, hang with and take your mind off it, like call me. Call me. Like it's not good for you just to be solo with your thoughts about what the hell is going on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I've certainly pushed it all aside to try to be there for him.
Has he taken you up on that at all, or?
Him and I have had a few 30, 40 minute long phone calls, and like we used to do that all like every day, every day. And so, he's called me, and I've just been there to listen, just been there to listen. And he's like, and then I heard this, and then I heard, and all this stuff. And so I have spoken to him, but then I've also been like a punching bag for him, just, recently he got all pissed about something that he saw on the show. I was like, dude, and then he was like, he backed off and was like, I took it out on you, like I found out this, and I'm sorry. And I'm like, that is fine, but like don't man.
No, totally. He's looking for an outlet right now, and it's tough because we do love both of you guys, so it's like, oh no, the girls are fighting. Like no, like no, don't fight. We love you guys.
Right. And Paige too. I'm like, oh my God.
But it is like there are moments that we see that you're like, oh no, like why'd you do that, or why'd you do that? Like watching the show back, and I can totally understand why things can become irritating. Like the fact that he thought he could just kind of like buy you out of the podcast for, by the way, a low price. I was
a fire sale.
Yeah, like
fire sale price.
Seriously. Yeah. I was like, oh no, that's not nice. You don't do that.
Sorry.
It's Craig.
It's Shep.
Oh yeah. Let me tell you something. Every time one of you guys does the podcast, Shep calls.
Really?
I don't know what has happened.
That did happen.
Because Craig, last time Craig was here solo, Shep was also calling him.
Yeah, that did happen.
So Shep.
Hey, you still got those phone calls with Shep.
Yeah. Look,
I can't get rid of Shep
all the time. That's a different conversation.
Yeah. No, but okay. So he lowballs you for the podcast. What are you thinking in that moment?
I was just like, how tone deaf can you be?
Yeah.
Right. I was like, I don't like the podcast is like the furthest thing from my mind right now. Right. Like in my mind, I'm like, all right, man, Craig and I are fighting. We're just gonna take off, some time and this and that, and then for him to kind of come and start talking about, buying me out. I'm like, what are you buying me out of, Craig? Like, all that you have to do is like stop doing the podcast, and then you don't have to buy me at anything. Like you just make another podcast and call it Craig's show. I don't know.
Right, because you're going to take the name.
What are you going to do with pillows and beer? Like there's no
taking the name pillows and beer.
It just becomes
right,
pillows.
Exactly.
But
that's
so
lonely.
it just didn't make sense to me, right? Because I was like,
just go do a new show.
Just go do another show.
Yeah. Like that.
I think it was dramatic.
Yeah,
and it was unnecessary.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, add $70K to that, and let's get up to 6, and then and then okay, then fine.
Let's go to the table.
And then you're
here,
like,
Craig.
I'm basically
let's
stealing money from you because we could have just ended this show and you could have just
ended
started
this.
your new show,
But,
and I
okay,
wouldn't have
fine.
asked for a dime.
I'll take like $100K, I guess. Like,
right.
I mean, but yeah, it was silly, and it kind of like proved my point even more.
Yeah.
Right? Where I'm like, money.
Yeah.
Dollar signs. Right. And it's good to be focused, right? But like, it all goes back to balance, and like it pains me that, but like I knew this, right? I was talking to Shep when we were filming, and I was like, dude, just get ready for Craig's fans to be like, you're just jealous. I'm like, you're missing the point. You're totally just missing the point of what I'm saying. It's not jealousy. I've always been an advocate for Craig. I view Craig as a peer, whereas like Shep and Whitney, have always been older, and they look down and make fun of them, and but I've always been like a supporter of that, and that's just like not the direction that I even like was considering, like trying to put down Craig to make myself feel better.
Yeah, and you have to, and I think people have to take the reality TV show aspect out of it and just think about you guys as friends in real life. Like if fans are watching the show and they put themselves in your position, and they think about, what if my best friend started cutting me off and didn't want to see me, and maybe they had concern, like, okay, say Craig's concern with you is about partying and he doesn't want to do that. Well, then I wish my friend would just tell me, hey, I'm not into the partying scene anymore, but would love to do something else with you. Like, just look at it from that angle rather than
the problem was it seemed like he didn't want to do other things.
Yeah.
Okay. So
did you
I
ever
almost
think
did
about
like
the
a
fact that
crowd
he
working
just
thing, last night, right? Like I watched Robin's off. I'm like, who here, is here with one of their friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the crowd's like, woo me. Who here like is married and might have like a baby like at home that they're like, yes, man, mom's night out,
Mm-hmm.
and people are like, yeah, woo woo, and I'm like, yeah, Craig doesn't do that.
Yeah.
He doesn't do that.
Do you ever think to yourself, and this is kind of sad, like I don't even want to ask this, but like when it feels like he doesn't even want to do any of those things, are you like, damn, does he just like not like me as a person?
My girl,
yes.
This happened when we filmed, and I said it to him, and I was like, I mean, Craig, you're making me feel like a 6th grader here, and I'm like, do you like me anymore? And I was like, I have to say this,
right?
And I said, do you not want to hang out with me anymore? And he looked at me like I had 3 heads. He was like, are you insane? Like, why would you even say, And I was like, okay, then what the fuck is
right,
it?
because you're getting the feeling, you're like, I feel like you don't like me as a person, and if you don't like me as a person, then tell me, and then cool, I won't try to hang out with you anymore.
Bingo.
Then I can have the answer, and then I won't even try.
And I guess that they didn't play it right, but like I said that to Craig, and then later on, he even kind of made fun of me more for it. He was like, you said it like 3 times that you didn't think like I liked you, and I was like, okay. I mean, I'm like a grown man, and if you say that you don't like me, then yes, I'll just try less and won't do this kind of thing anymore, and I'll take it on the chin and just be like, okay, Craig doesn't like me anymore. And like part of the thing is that you were talking about growth and change, and yes, everyone is like allowed to grow and change, and I feel like Craig refuses to see that I am as well. And he's just like, I've grown so much, and where are you? And I'm like, dude, you're not even like willing to look and see change, that I have in my life, and all this, and so I just think that Craig is just so like, I've changed, so much, and my life. I mean, God, in season 9, I mean, Mr. Golden Boy, right?
Right.
And that doesn't anger me, right? But like, and then to go to season 10, he was like, okay, my life is wonderful. Now I'm just going to, cut out drinking. So I'm even more of like,
right.
and I'm like, okay, great. If you don't want to drink or, drink sparingly, then, then so be it. But like, can you accept that I've grown as well? And I'm, been taking measures like in my life to not, regress back to, previous versions of myself, and feel like Craig needs to like acknowledge that.
You don't have to dive into this too much, but I mean, his relationship had to have was factored into some of those decisions, you think?
I mean,
either just maybe what Paige wanted him to be doing, or
like watching back on the show. I mean, before, like I would always be asked, like, do you think it's Paige? Do you think it's Paige? Do you think it's Paige? And I was like, no, no, I don't. I just think that that's how Craig is, and watching it back, like I see that, she had some influence on, some things. And I just think that, Craig is an interesting character.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he marches to the beat of his own drum.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah, I wish Craig was sitting here next to you so we could like talk it all out together.
Yeah,
we just have a group therapy session.
Right.
We're like, we're
guys,
not leaving this room until you guys decide you're going to hang out.
And you guys better hug. Yeah. No, it's like a pre-reunion. We sit you guys both down. You know what I mean?
Our reunion is next week.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's. I mean, you guys are gonna have all these conversations.
Like, something tells me that Craig is going to be in here because I think he might be doing Watch What Happens. Next week.
We would
look. We would love
to have Craig on. Yeah, we're not here next week, but we would love for Craig to come back on.
New Orleans, baby.
Yeah, Eagles.
Oh yeah.
Down there all week for the Super Bowl.
Please do us all a favor.
Okay, but there's so much other stuff going on Southern Charm as well. I know you guys like your whole relationship is kind of the main plot point right now, but there are some new people, some new faces. What have you thought about the Sally edition?
I just know Sally from some Reputation, stuff. Like I remember over the summer or whatever, Shep was like, man, check out this girl, man. She's DMing me and, I'm going to go sleep with her and all, and I was like, oh, okay. It like read to me a little bit like, hey, Shep, she's kind of using you as like a ladder here. No shame like in her game though.
Yeah.
I mean, but then like with
Never
Joe Bradley,
forget one episode of The Bachelor.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And then
notable.
And then, with Taylor's ex, the fact that there's like that crossover
it's crazy.
there.
Very. I mean, we all know that Charleston is so
Taylor
incestuous,
used to date,
like
Sally's,
that, but
current on the show, which they've broken up since. And the fact that Sally, used to date hers, and I was like, that's why I don't date people in Charleston any longer. I'm not doing it because you walk in and someone has you've slept with somebody there.
Yeah.
But I like that Sally is taking it full on, and she's just like, owning it and just kind of being like, okay, does anyone else have any questions? Like, I'll do this freaking thing all night. So I like that.
That's definitely. I agree with that. What about Weenie Hut Jr. president, JT? He's just been. You don't really interact with him too much.
No, I haven't had to, which has been a godsend.
And then he quit.
Well, look, I haven't had to interact much. And I mean,
so you missed that whole.
If we're being honest,
you missed the whole band.
Yeah, I was at a wedding.
The whole band show after party situation where like everybody got mad at JT for.
And Shep called me and was like, "Dude, you just missed some mayhem." And I was like, "I'm kind of glad that I did, right? Because I don't know.
I feel like it's better if you're not involved in like Taylor's drama.
100%. And that's why I have like stayed on the other side of the street on all of it all season. Yeah. And I'm just like, I wish her the best, but I'm not getting involved in this. Shep is doing that enough for kind of everyone. But back to the JT thing, I which I do not want to talk about, much because but he like kind of had me in a position in the beginning of the season where I was going to have to like man up and just be like, okay, you said, sorry to me. Now let's try to like, move forward together, because if I wouldn't have, then I would have looked like a petty little bitch. Right. And I was like, man, he kind of has me. Right. Yeah. Because he was like, hey man, let's, work it out. And then he just immediately hung himself with that rope. And then I just haven't had to interact with him since.
Do you think he actually called Miss Patricia a bitch?
You're the first person that's asked me that point blank. And I've had all these answers in my head. And I guess the answer is that I don't care.
Yeah.
Right? Still a little shithead.
Yep. Yep. That's fair. I mean, we were floored by like the whole I'm done. I've done some interviews and now I'm done and I'm not going to keep filming them.
I just was
and
so
like,
by the
confused
way,
because I thought there were like
I
rules.
just passed him. You
Yeah.
know, when I was going to my interview and he was leaving. I'm like,
Yeah.
see why?
I just feel like it's like a cowardly move to just quit in the middle of the season, just finish it out, and then don't return for the
That's
next one.
Literally
which
called
is what,
like, you know, it's like I love to make a mess, but I'm going to run away and not,
Right.
you know, clean it up.
right? You're
And
gonna
it's
throw
like
it and then just like sprint
100%.
away.
So
What's going on in your dating life?
yeah, so
it's been good.
yeah, I have a girlfriend and,
Yeah.
and she. it's so weird to say. It's like a term that I like. That's like, you know, frightened me. But
He turned bright red.
That's why I asked
Yeah,
it.
I know, God.
That's why I asked it like that. I was like, "What's he gonna say?"
Yeah.
Yep.
It was look. I've had tumultuous relationships in the past.
Yes, you have.
And it's so nice to like just have someone who just like lets me be. And honestly, she's like a proponent of my peace. She's like a peacekeeper,
That's so nice.
you know,
That's
for
beautiful.
me. She's so chill, you know, she's not keeping tabs on me. And that's just like the way
I hope
that it
you let
needs
her
to
be too. Then, like
100%.
mutual, like
Yeah.
support.
100%.
How does she feel about like the show? I know you guys did a little bit with like going to visit your parents
Yeah.
and like, but obviously she's not in Charleston.
Yeah,
yet.
well, you know what's funny about it? So she was in town during that episode, right? You know, the episode's airing and she's at my house and, you know, we're cooking dinner, you know, watching a show. And I'm like, the episode where like we go to my parents' house, like it's on tonight, you know, do you want to watch it? And she was like, no.
No.
Yeah, I was like,
she's like,
okay.
I lived it.
Yeah,
So,
no, right.
Don't need
and
to
I was
rewatch.
like, okay. I was like, what a wonderful answer. Like,
Yeah.
okay, and on with our lives. So, she definitely came and filmed like a party here, and my parents there, and then there's like another party that, you know, she goes to another couple times, but, you know, I didn't feel necessary to like bring her around into all of the mix. It just gets messy, right? And like, so she comes to like another party, and you'll see that. So, you know, JT's not like invited, but then Shep does like invite him. And so then, you know, JT's like, oh, okay, well, like I'll show up maybe because Shep. And I'm like, all right, well, I don't want my girlfriend there if he's going to be there, because you just never know what off the wall nonsense that he read like on Reddit that, you know, he's going to let fly this week.
Yeah.
So I like try to like avoid like a crossover there. And I think like he shook her hand and I was like, go wash your hand right now. You know, and she was like, I didn't know what to do.
No, in that situation, you just kind of have to, you gotta roll with it for
How
sure.
long have you guys been together now?
A year.
Nice.
He says with shock.
Yeah, no,
I
No,
know.
it's
I'm
very,
very happy
we're
for you.
very happy.
No, that's awesome.
But here's the thing, and it comes back to like, you know, the growth thing and doing all these things. Is like, by the way, you know, just because your relationship hasn't been like front and center on the show or anything, or it's like she's not also on reality TV, like you've taken steps in your personal life with dating and doing those things, like, and that's great. And you know,
you've kept it more.
it's maybe Craig hasn't acknowledged all that too.
Yeah.
I mean, it was one of those things too that when we became boyfriend, girlfriend, right? Like we had the talk, and it was like more for me than, you know, for her. I was like, we need to just like define this so that I don't have the like gray area card that I've been accused of in the past. And I'm like, let's
accused
make
of
this
or have done.
have done.
Yes.
Yes. Right. You know, the gray area.
Yeah,
so
the gray
that's,
area that you have done.
Yes, the gray area that I have done.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that I was like, let's make this, you know, black and white so that we can just like.
I mean, look, I loved hearing what Andy said when you guys, you know, watched Happens Live, being like, I was in London, I was with Shep, I was with, or no, or maybe it
Me
was
and
you
Craig.
and you and Craig,
Yeah.
not Shep, because who knows? I mean, I don't know what is going on with
Yeah.
Shep's love life, but with the
don't
two of
either.
you, and like he was like, you guys were so well behaved, like
Yeah, I mean, we like went out in
Yeah.
you know, London. We had a lot of fun, and by the way, we were out until like, you know, 3:00 in the morning. you
Yeah.
know? And Craig was drinking like, man, low ABV beers or, whatever. Fine, right?
Yeah.
But didn't say like a thing to him. And I'm like, this is what I'm talking about, man.
Right,
yeah.
This is like, this is fun stuff. And I'm
Yeah.
like, are you only here because, Andy's here?
Right,
like,
right.
and
Yeah. I
maybe
mean, you
so.
don't have to drink to have fun in
No.
any capacity. There are some nights where I'll be out till 3, 4 in the morning and I barely drank and I'm like, I'm just having a good time, you
Yeah.
know? Like
Yeah.
it's
And so, we were out and we were doing some fun, people watching. But Craig and I were just.
Shep is not with this girl anymore
No.
that was with on the show?
No, and it's very bizarre to me too. So if it's bizarre to you as the watcher, I understand.
Yeah,
Because-
it's like, are they boyfriend girlfriend? Doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, because no, well, I mean, gosh, I date someone that lives like in Charlotte, right, which is 3 hours away, and he's trying to date someone that lives in the Bahamas.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, Shep, you're too much of a horn dog to like not be able to see someone like what? Man, you're gonna see her like once a month and just think that you're gonna be some good little boy, around
Just
town.
like sounds like he kind of wanted to like live in the Bahamas with her.
he should just go live in the
it
Bahamas.
like crossed his mind.
Yeah, it seemed like it
He
did.
was like, is this like my lot in life to move
Yeah.
to Bahamas and like buy some real estate here? And
She didn't really seem like she loved the idea.
Yeah.
well, so basically what it is, in my opinion, is that, and in Craig's opinion too, is that to me it was very, very obvious. So Shep had this relationship with Taylor. And I think it's the first time in his life that he like really had someone that, he loved and cared about, and, he had like a partner, and, he messed up and they broke up. But I think that he's wanted that since. So then he kind of found, this girl, and I guess that they connect, and he just like wanted that, connection again so bad that he was like, maybe it's supposed to be with her.
Yeah.
And so he kind of just dove into this thing where it probably just should have been like hey, like I met this girl on Raya and she flew in and we've had some fun times and, that's it. But I think that they L'd each other hard, like, early.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were
It
like,
did seem that way even just from.
they were like, I L you.
Yeah,
It was
right,
like,
right,
what?
right.
You say that to her?
Yeah.
You've hung out with her 3 times.
I don't think
Speaking
I
of-
realized that she was a fan of the show or that was like a
Yeah, it's something like her grandmother is like the founder of this like charm fan club in the Bahamas or something like that.
goodness.
a Southern Charm fan club in the
Yes.
Bahamas.
In the Bahamas?
Something like that.
Oh my gosh.
That's one.
Yeah,
I
it's-
didn't. I mean,
One,
it's just
that's
interesting.
amazing. Like, just like
congrats
it's
to you
just
guys
amazing.
for
that's
having that
amazing
be a
that
thing.
that
Yes.
even
You know what I
exists
mean?
in the world. Like that's amazing.
Yeah,
But,
more like a congratulations
Yeah,
rather
I
than.
mean, it's
Her grandma must have had a field
Yeah.
day with the way that this
And
went.
listen, if there's one in the Bahamas, there's got to be one in Brazil. And if you made it in Brazil,
Yeah.
you made it everywhere.
Of course.
You know,
Okay,
come
why
to Brazil.
Brazil?
You've never
Has
seen
to
on
be.
Instagram. That's the thing. Like
no.
with like a famous person, they're always like, "Come to Brazil." That's the thing. So
Yes,
there's got to
yes.
be a charm
Once
fan
you
club
start
in
to get
Brazil.
that, yeah,
yeah.
for
Then you've
sure.
really made
For
it.
sure.
How did you feel being called like the biggest love bomber?
So I turned on the last like 15 minutes of Taylor's Watch What Happens Live. I was like, let's see what's going on here.
Yep.
And
Well, like you do every Sunday through Thursday.
yeah, of course. And she was going in about Shep being one, and in my head I was like, Shep is not a love bomber, and I was like, huh? And then she turned it to me, and I was
Yeah.
like, okay, wait, what the hell just
Yeah.
happened? And then Andy was like, oh, okay, well, has he done it to you? And she's like, no, not me. And in my head I was just like, Taylor, what are you talking about? Like, who have I love bombed?
Do you feel like you're a
Right?
love
Like, I don't-
bomber, or like have?
No,
Yeah.
but like I did in a therapy session talk to my therapist about, I was like, because I have this thing where like I get off the phone with like a friend or something, sometimes I'm like, all right, man, love you. Right. Like I say that to people.
Yeah. Yep.
And maybe at one point, like I was doing that to, I mean, I don't think that I was doing that to Taylor. Right. But then my therapist was like, okay, maybe just use that word as like an intentional, word. And I was like, okay, like I won't, calculate that around, but I do not say that, to women. I
Yeah,
can promise
and-
you that,
yeah,
like,
and love bombing could,
I love you way,
Right.
just to get them to feel some way. So I do not do that because that's a
Right.
huge word and it you know, it freaks me
Yeah,
out.
But love
Sometimes
bombing
she's
could
like,
be
is a
more.
totally
Yeah, it's not
different
just
thing,
about
too,
like saying I love you. It's more just like a, you know, right off the bat when you're dating someone, you're going over the top of being like very serious
Okay.
right away, doing like you know, extreme romantic gestures for them right away. Like that would be sort of love bombing.
Yeah, like love bomb. Like it's. I think she was like some people. The way she was talking about it, it sounded like just saying "I love you" early on in a relationship, which isn't really fully the extent of what love bombing can be. It's like kind of more used as like a manipulative tactic to like get
to
the girl
rope somebody in early in.
Yeah. Of like going over the trips. I love like over all those things.
I wouldn't. I don't think that that's the way that I
tattoo
operate.
on the first week.
Right.
I don't think that that's the way that like I operate. So you know, when she said it,
Taylor
I was like,
sometimes like
I was like, Taylor,
speaks and then
what?
is like,
From what I've heard about you, it seems like you're more of like distant.
So like, you know,
just like some of the things, like sometimes I feel like Taylor blurts stuff out and then she's like, "Ooh, I
actually
maybe take that
think
back."
that like that is more so what happened. Like when she said it, I was like, Taylor, I was like, you just say things, you know, sometimes that I don't even know if you know what you're saying.
Yeah, it goes back to like the Craig and Page thing. When Craig.
Oh, goodness.
Oh my God, did anybody call them that?
I don't know.
No,
but
but
they
no,
coined
you
their
just did
nickname
that
after
now.
it
Well, no,
happened.
not
Oh
now.
my God, I know. Damn. Okay, well, moving on from that.
Yeah, I mean, I hope the best
I
for
meant
both,
it like
by
the
the
rumor
way.
that Taylor was like, "Oh, Paige is like cheating or whatever," and everyone was like, "What are you talking about?"
Well, yeah, like
Right.
why would you blurt that out?
Yeah.
And you just made yourself, you know, look kind of silly.
Yeah.
And she has a history of blurting things out. And I was gonna text her about it and be like, "What the hell was that?" But I was just like, I think that was just like a Taylorism.
Yeah.
On the Craig and Paige topic, I hope the best for both of them. I hope they both figure it out. You know what I mean? And I
Did
feel
you
like
find out publicly, like when everybody else found out?
That is when I found out.
Yeah.
You know, and I
We should have called you. Rhea called me immediately. Was like, "You see this?"
No, let me
I,
tell
like,
you.
called
Fran
Chef and I
texted
was
me.
like, what do we do?
I was in.
She was in London.
and Fran texted me, and she was like, "Did you see the news about Paige and Craig?" And I was like, "What? Did they get engaged?" And she was like, "No,
I said,
they broke up."
I said,
And I was like, "What? What?" And then I was like, "Oh my God, what happened?" Like we were like, whoa, you know, it was
Yep.
right around
Yeah,
Christmas
so
time.
I knew, you know, the writing was on the wall for me, and I was just like, you know, we opened our bar, like she didn't come down for the opening, and I know that, you know, she's busy. I'm not saying that she's not. You know, we all know that she's busy, but like, you really do make time for the people that you care about. And so it was just like a couple of things, right? And then I just didn't think that, you know, she'd been at Charleston in ages, and Craig said that they had this whole plan for Christmas.
Yeah.
And he told me this like right after Thanksgiving. He was like, so she's gonna come down here for 4 days, then we're gonna go to Delaware for 2 days, and then we're gonna go to Albany for, you know, 2 or 3 days. And I was like, okay. And then he's like, and then we're gonna go to London, right?
Yes,
So
I heard.
Craig was
Craig
was
told
talking to Rhea
Marty
and Matt to be like,
he was going.
"Let's meet up in London."
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, me and Paige are going to London. Maybe we'll see you there New Year's Eve." And then while we were in London, the news hit. I said, "I guess we're not seeing them."
Yeah.
So I noticed that, you know, they were both posting that, you know, home for Christmas, and I was like, they are not together.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, even prior to that, kind of when he told me about his plans for Christmas, you know, and I'm trying to, like, you know, delicately do this so I don't, like, you know, betray, you know, things that, you know, he said to me, but I just like had noticed, right? And Craig doesn't typically open up about him and Paige.
Yeah.
You know, like I find out what you guys, you know, find out like on the show, right? You know, he tends to be more honest on the show, you know, in certain capacities, than, you know, he does to me. But, you know, he had said something to me like along the lines of, we just had like a talk on the phone for, you know, 30 minutes, and, you know, she thinks that like I'm mad at her because, you know, she's super busy and blah, blah. And I was like, okay. I was like, that is like a normal thing, Craig. And I was like, and thank you for coming to me to say something, because, you know, you rarely do. But yeah. And then I texted him like, hey, well, when are you taking off for London? And me texting him that was me being like, I know that something's up.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I was like, just say it. Just say it. Just say it.
Call me, tell me.
And then he didn't say anything. And then the next day I was like, you know, ...
Yeah.
And then he was like, he gave me a very runaroundy answer of like, we're not going to London, and I'm going to Aspen. And then a couple days later,
Yep.
I saw and then like I texted him and was like, all right, man, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's do our last question, presented by Truly Hard Seltzer.
Yes.
Little ad read tossed right in here. Look at
Mountain
that.
Paradise, my favorite flavor.
We'll get now that this has all happened, you said you're filming the reunion soon. What do you think is the path forward for your friendship with Craig? Because you guys got it. You guys got to get back together.
And listen, we're rooting for you both. We love you both.
Yeah, exactly.
And we want you guys sitting on this couch together, having a good time with us again.
Look, the thing is too, is that sometimes I think it like annoys us when they always want to pair us together, for stuff, right?
Yeah, fair.
Sometimes it's like, I'm my own person, right? And Craig definitely feels that way, right?
Yeah.
But I think that the chemistry that we have together is kind of like an undeniable thing. And so they love to pair us and things, and we bounce off each other really, really well. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
I think that we do things together really, really well. And I think that what needs to happen, because I think that at the root of it, and I'm going to workshop this here with you,
Yes.
you guys. Like, it's just us talking, right?
Yeah. No one else is hearing
right?
it.
Okay.
Yep.
And everyone can, workshop it together.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that at the root of it, Craig has always viewed me as Mr. Season 4. And so I don't think that he's ever quite given me like the respect level, right? He's always like, if we're like on season 30, he's like, but I've done it for 4 seasons longer than you, right? And it's like, I think that at the root, it's always been that way a little bit. And he got picked on by Shep and Whitney to, the ends of the earth. And then I came around and Craig's like, ooh, I can kind of pick on Austen. And yes, he's had some great, friend moments on the show. Like, I loved the way that he defended me to JT, when he like accused me, I was like I fist bumped. It's like, hell yeah, Craig, So I'm not saying that he's a shitty friend. I'm just saying he needs to like realize, growth and that like the same playing field and all this stuff, right?
And you know what? That is actually a pretty fair point, because there probably is, and with you guys, there probably is like a sibling dynamic where it's like he was always the younger brother, and then he had someone come along that like then could be his younger brother, and this just kind of becomes like a cycle of like, oh well, they did
sure,
pass it down.
And like a brotherly way is a good way to put it. Like I do have like a lot of love for Craig.
Yeah,
and you fight with your siblings.
Yeah,
and that's the same way that I do it with Craig and with Shep.
And just like when you fight with your siblings, both of your feelings are valid, and sometimes just the way they get communicated just doesn't come across to each other, and everybody has a reasoning for doing something, and it's about finding that middle ground of like, okay, I agree with you on that about myself, but you have to take some accountability there, and like both
being able to take criticism is important.
Take
and
accountability.
I just don't think that he takes criticism.
Well,
Mm.
I hope that you guys can hash it out, and if you do it at the reunion, I hope you guys can also have that moment to really talk and not have like everybody's out. Everybody else. I mean, even though we're giving our opinions right now, but like the other cast members to like, let you guys like have
off camera too, like do the reunion and then
totally
off camera.
I think that we are going to come out of it, better than ever, and just be like, dude, from this point on, like, and it was tough. Exactly what you're saying, that the cast trip, I began to talk to Craig, and we were sitting around like even Madison and Ryan and Rod, and they all started chiming in, and I got up. I was like, Craig, you and me are going over here. We're talking solo. The peanut gallery is not what we need.
Yep,
right
exactly.
now to be past
That's definitely what you guys need. So, fingers crossed, everything works out.
We hope you guys can figure it out.
We'll be fine,
there's no pillows and beer. It's two things.
Come on, it's together.
And like,
it's like chicks in the office.
that's
It's not
right.
chick
It's not
in the
chick
office.
in the office.
You know what I mean?
And I actually think that's, if Craig and I were to come out the other side, and then it's like, boom, pillows and beers back, bigger and better than ever.
Craig,
right?
think about the Pillows and Beer reunion tour
That's
you
right,
could go
that's
on.
Right. And we know that Craig loves money.
It sells itself.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Austen, thanks for coming in and talking to us. We appreciate it.
Yes.
We know that this can be a little nerve-wracking and
For sure.
everything. So we're we love chatting with you, and we love you. We love Craig.
Yeah,
so
we're
it's
open
just-
to conversations
Yeah,
with
exactly,
everybody. We want
exactly.
everyone to
I know.
come in here
Exactly.
and
I know,
talk
and I
about
know
it and
that's-
listen to all
It's
the
not going to
feelings.
be long, before Craig comes in here.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
He
yep,
gives kind of
yep,
his
yep,
side,
Right,
right?
exactly.
Exactly. But, you know,
That'll be
we
great.
greatly appreciate it.
Yes, we
Southern
do.
Charm, obviously, everybody tune in. The season has been great. I mean, besides you guys fighting, there's a lot of other stuff going on as well, too, and new people and new drama and who dated whose ex and
Right.
whose ex dated that
It's always
ex. And
juicy.
it's just,
Charleston.
it really is crazy. Thursday nights.
Yes.
Bravo, 9 Eastern.
We are 8. 'cause
8
We're the
Eastern.
lead-in.
Yeah.
We're the
You're
lead-in.
right, because
Yes.
now it's you and hospitality.
Yeah.
Right. And you can watch on Peacock too. That's where I watch.
Yeah. Yes.
weekends.
Tune in 8 o'clock Southern Charm, 9 o'clock Southern Hospitality.
There you go.
What a double! It's a double whammy. Thursday
Damn.
nights in
Yes.
Charleston.
I mean, Charleston.
Yeah.
Who would have
Exactly.
thought that
Charleston's
a tiny
producing some of
town-
the best reality
Yeah.
TV right now.
There you go.
Love it. All right. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Austin.
Thanks, guys.